Let's call the City of Milton virtual Common Council meeting to order Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. And can I get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice?
Meeting notice was posted on Tuesday, February 21st at Hometown Ace Hardware, Milton City Hall, and Milton Piggly Wiggly.
I'm not going to believe all the stuff I got going on here. I have a tablet, I have my laptop, and I have a notepad to keep track of the meeting tonight since it's been so long. Okay, approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Penny, did you get that? It was unanimous. Everybody motioned to approve it and everybody seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries and we have an agenda. So, Pledge of Allegiance. I don't see Ingo's flag. It's so different. And nobody's wearing a little pin. Everybody's looking around. Okay, well, we'll just all hold our hands on our hearts and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I actually must have something to share. No, okay. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of
America
and to the republic
to
for
the
which it
republic
stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
and
justice for all. Okay, public comments. Inga, is there anyone other than our listed presenters?
No, I am only seeing council and our listed presenters, and there's no one in the waiting room right now.
Okay. And y'all can stop me if I get out of order because my numbers are really, really small on my tablet. So, approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay. All right. Our next item, right, is the presentation by the Janesville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Yep. Okay. And welcome, Christine. And I will turn it over to you. I don't know if there were any slides or anything, or
Inga's gonna run them.
Inga's getting us fired
Yep.
up.
Yep, I'm
Okay,
just
perfect.
getting back into the Zoom things as well. So just, you don't have any audio in your presentation, right, Christine?
I don't, and
Okay.
I will just, while you fire that up, I can easily just thank you for the opportunity to come and present. I'm sorry we can't be in person, but I would also invite you to reach out personally if there's more you want to talk about or have me come in and meet with you one-on-one. It is truly such a pleasure to work with this group and with Milton. As we'll see as we slide through the presentation, this is year 4 and it has just been a real pleasure. We'll just start maybe with an overview of what the program is. Again, we're looking at year 4. It is a partnership with the City of Milton, the Milton Area Chamber, and us, the Janesville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Again, it's year 4 of the partnership. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's an annual renewable contract, and the total investment is $12,000. That is 6 from the City of Milton and 6 from the Chamber. And I think it's important to mention here, we also now contract with the City of Edgerton and their Tourism Commission there. And it really allows us to partner in this region and Northern Rock County region, and has really helped to bring in those additional partners. if we look, and I'll let you move forward, at our partner goals, this was really important to us when we did this. We wanted to make sure we were hitting what the city of Milton wanted from the partnership and what the chamber wanted from the partnership, and quite honestly, what we wanted from the partnership. And we knew for the city of Milton that was successful commerce, happy engaged residents. For the chamber, it was that draw for new commerce. And for us, it's a strong tourism draw for Northern Rock County. We know that when we create those successful tourism businesses and visitors, they're going to spend throughout the county and benefit all of us. So those were really the goals that we've kept forefront for this partnership. When we look at more specifics of the partnership, and I'll let you move that forward. There we go. We looked at, again, the campaign goals. We developed campaigns for our partners, and that's how we really look at our marketing. So we wanted to create awareness of Milton attractions, businesses, and events. We wanted to grow social media presence. It's such an affordable marketing tool that social media is really key to this campaign. We wanted to reach that audience outside of Rock County. Most of Rock County is familiar with Milton, but we wanted to bring those new visitors, new relationships. And we wanted to drive visitors traffic to Milton attractions, businesses, and special events. We wanted to enhance all the visual assets we have. We know that tourism marketing needs rich photography, a rich video before anything else. So we continue to enhance that. Highlight the outdoors. You have amazing opportunities for outdoor tourism. We also wanted to target those people coming for a road trip that might stay a little longer in the county. We also look at our target markets, and I'm sorry, gentlemen, but we still find that women tend to be those decision makers about travel. We all know, we have that planning, and tends to still be our primary target market for that tourism planning. We want to draw in couples and families. We know you're a great destination for young couples and families. Again, we want to target people who travel, who do go out and take trips. Our target markets have evolved a little bit. We look at Northern Illinois, Rockford, Chicago always, but we've added Northeastern Iowa. We seem to have a really good pull from that Dubuque area. And then again, Southern Wisconsin. When we look at our tools or our tactics, how are we bringing them here? We operate 2 web pages. We help with the Visit Milton section of the Chamber's site and the City of Milton's website. We do the calendar of events on the city site. You might ask, why are we doing these 2 pages? They really just have very different functionalities than what the 2 pages can do. We can't do a robust calendar on the Visit Milton page. We can on the city's page. So we're really just maintaining that data there in a great partnership with both of you. Again, that social media, we do some paid advertising. We produce a printed brochure in a real high volume that we distribute at the travel centers. And we also do all the data entry for the Department of Tourism's Travel Wisconsin website. Here's a look at those 2 websites that you'll see there. One is the cities and one is, sorry, I have a little partner with me here watching me present from home. You can see those 2 websites there. You can see the chambers and the cities and how the enhancement that we add to those 2 sites. Again, managing the calendar, some of the content, and some of the photography. Next, we'll take a look real specifically at the social media. Again, Facebook, just a great medium for reaching travelers. We're just under 5,000 followers to the page. You'll see a large reach there, and that really is the people who could see the material if it's there, and the likes and reactions are those people who engage. When we talk about paid reach, we do some paid advertising to drive people to the page and see what's there. If we look at top cities we're bringing in, Janesville, Milton are strong, but Chicago really is coming in as a strong 3rd, as is Milwaukee and Rockford. And then you'll just see some of the comments that we see on the Facebook page of people who really do get engaged and excited about coming to the community. When we look at Instagram, we do have an Instagram account for Milton. We've got a real rich category of photos that we can use in images. We've got 1,000 followers there. Again, a reach of 3,061 people who visit that page on that regular basis. Again, a strong draw from Janesville, Milton, Beloit, Edgerton, and Madison. We've been able to reach strong there. Hot topics when we work on Instagram tend to be restaurants. People love photos of food, as we all know, that outdoor recreation, and again, one of your amazing attractions in the Milton House Museum. And we take another look here, just some of the comments that we see from Instagram. And again, people really get excited and engaged in what we do. Some of these people are travel writers who kind of bring that interest to them, but just a lot of comments about liking what they see and experience on the page. We do have a Twitter account for Visit Milton, and as we know, some of these social media platforms are changing. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll do it if it makes sense. If it makes sense to trade from some of these platforms, we will. Currently, we've got 130 followers, and you can see some of the things that are posted up there and some of the reactions we get from them. Again, things like Buckhorn are very popular, and again, the events are easy to promote. And Twitter, quite honestly, is something that travel writers are still using very strongly. So it's something we're currently using, but we'll look at these mediums that at any point, if it makes sense to pull off of them, we would. We look at some print advertising and other advertising. We do help organize that page in the Rock County Tourism Guide. We also do some paid advertising with Travel Wisconsin, and this was a partnership with Edgerton, where we did a Travel Wisconsin newsletter, which has great visitation, and it does a lot of movement for us specifically. We look at travel writer visits. We were able to partner with Edgerton and Janesville. When we bring these three communities together, we have a lot more power to bring in those writers and then to do what we call sponsored trips for them. So we're really paying for everything they do while they come here, but they're then writing these great stories for us. So we had a couple that came in. One was Oh, the Places We Will Go. Another is Oleo in Iowa. We also were excited to get Milton House and the Buckhorn featured in a new book, 1,000 Things to Do in Wisconsin Before You Die. So we were excited to get those editions in there and hopefully people go well before they're thinking about, moving on. But we were excited to get Milton featured in that publication. She will also be going out and doing some book signings in Rock County. So we'll let you know when those events take place. Hopefully we can host a book signing there in Milton with her. Again, some real rich photography we've been working to put together. We invest in photography because we know that's where the strong marketing comes from. So you'll see we try in everything we do to make sure that you can tell that you're in Milton and there's some Milton landmarks in them. But it's been really fun to go out and work on those photography sessions. The one that you'll see of the sunset, that took us about an hour to get just right, but we think it'll be really valuable when we talk about that lakefront experience. And again, this is our print brochure. We just did revisions on that. They've arrived from the printer, so we will have those again at the Wisconsin Welcome Centers. We have purchased placement at the Beloit Travel Center, right in that front section that's accessible 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So those we move through quite a bit. I'll check inventory there, but we have that opportunity to put those anywhere in the community. We'll get them out to the new ones in the Milton community. If anyone wants a supply for their businesses, please just let us know. We'll get them out to the attractions there in the Milton area. That's really the end of my formal presentation, but I would love to answer questions or share more information.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of uplifting given like the weather we have right now. It makes me excited for warmer weather, travel, and all, really kind of a reminder of all the fun things that we have to offer and that we can do just in our area. And I love the leveraging partnerships with Janesville and Edgerton. So that's really exciting. Does anybody else have any questions? You just want to unmute yourself or any comments either. And then I can try and see where the red is not in the circles or the square. Larry?
Oh, yeah, I just had a comment. I'm very excited about that book, The 100 Things to Do Before I Die in Wisconsin. I think that's a great idea if we could get the author to come to Milton. What a great idea. And to know that a couple of our local areas of interest or sites of interest are listed, that's pretty neat. So, yeah, that'd be really cool if we could tie in with that. So thank you for all your efforts, by the way.
It really is a pleasure. I think we forget the gem that we have in our own hometown. And this is a great reminder of, the wonderful things that we may just take for granted because we live in these communities.
Yes.
Anyone else? Lisa?
Yes, just a compliment that it was a terrific job of capturing the historic value of the community, as well as some of the other ideas to bring in families from the lake to other events, barbecue and things around the community that different ages would enjoy.
There was a comment from Linda. Do you see that, Inga?
Yeah, I think she's asking, is the Edgerton School District participating or is it just the chamber?
As far as the Edgerton partnership, that is actually with the Edgerton Tourism Commission, because they have a hotel room tax. They actually have a tourism commission. So it is a straight hotel room tax funding mechanism. So they do have a little bit higher budget in that way, but it is strictly tourism commission and room tax funds, not separate city funds or separate funds from a chamber or other organization.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. So thank you again. It's always nice to see you, and we'll hopefully see you in person, just around at different events. It's always good to see you when we're out. And I really enjoyed the presentation. And year 4 seems like that's gone by really fast, but I really love the partnership and how well it's been working. Okay, our next presentation. And Christine, you're always welcome to stay, but it's not mandatory.
Okay.
He's probably going to go shovel, I would imagine, right?
Or ice skate.
I'm sure Doug's not busy.
All right, Al, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. As folks who've kind of sat with me through this is always kind of one of my favorite things to do every single year. A lot happens in 365 days, and oftentimes we forget, especially when it was in those first kind of 100 or even 200 days of that 365. So I will have my year in review, and we'll look back in 2022, which is now almost 2 months in the rearview mirror. But I'll bring up the presentation and then share my screen. And unfortunately, I'm only operating on one screen tonight. The horror. So bear with me. All right. Can everybody see the presentation now?
It's
Yep.
just not in presentation mode.
Yep.
Okay,
There we go.
perfect.
Okay. All right. So gotta move a little, shrink that down. There we go. So in the year 2022, the city of Milton saw an increase of over $67 million in equalized value. The city has seen an overall equalized value increase of $225 million or 53% since 2015. So that essentially is the city has grown by greater than 50% in just a few short years. And we have kept our tax rate stable over the past 9 years, and it is actually still lower today in 2023 than it was in 2013. So little interesting factoid there. As we've done in years past, I will kind of bounce around and let the department heads kind of brag about their respective departments. I think everybody's able to unmute themselves, but then we'll kind of bring it back together for a general overview of everything. So first up, we have our police department and our short-term police chief, Mr. Scott Markward.
Still a little too early for that intro. But,
well, this is everything you do from here on out is the last time you'll do it. So we have to.
Oh yeah, I've had those moments. So that's yeah. My last evaluation process, which is good thing. So we've had a busy year. We were blessed by your support, and together with the budget savings that we've realized throughout the past years, been able to get that 12th officer within our organization, and found a place to put that shift where it makes the most sense for us. As of right now, it's still in a trial period, but getting that extra coverage between first and second shift was a gap for us. I'm glad we were able to do that. Once again, had a great process with WPPA on settling their labor agreement. In this economic environment, to come up with a 3-year agreement can sometimes be a struggle, but we had great conversations with both local leadership and the union leadership on getting them settled into a contract, and proud of the work that we did on that. And I'm assuming somebody's clicking ahead on me. So once again, WILEAG accreditation is important to us. One of the future things for 2022 is we have our 3rd reaccreditation on-site review coming up in October. And so that's on the 2023 goals that we're working on to get ready for that. And then as part of our obligation to that organization, we also have to provide people to do assessments at other organizations. So that's one of the roles that I take on, especially with small agencies, is serving as an assessor for smaller agencies in the state of Wisconsin that are seeking accreditation. Had some great events again this year. Lunch with a Cop with the 4th graders at Northside, and our Shop with a Cop came off flawlessly again in 2022. Really enjoy doing the community events and getting our staff out and engaging with the public in those fun ways that help keep us energized. Oh, I already mentioned Northside. Yeah, I participated in another 911 music video. Kathy Sukas has now retired, so there probably won't be too many more of those. So I guess that was one of the lasts for me too. Lots of other community events. Really enjoyed getting invited back to the Gathering Place for the first time post-COVID. Hopefully that would become more of a regular thing. Continuing my involvement with the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. We're looking at another community forum, hopefully sometime in late spring of this year. And lots of engagement throughout the city, both formal and informal, from other staff members. One of the things that I'm most proud of, and it will come as no surprise to you for those that know my retirement plans, is we've been able to establish a mental health wellness program within the department by contracting with an organization out of Madison. Healthy Minds does the mental health wellness programming for almost every agency in Dane County, and is also branching out into Rock County agencies as well. Right now, this is funded completely by grant dollars. And one of 2 things I hope happens is either those grant dollars continue into 2024, or we find the money to continue this program into the future. Every officer is required to do 1 visit per year with a mental health provider. And we like to talk about how attendance is mandatory. Participation is not. It's not therapy. It's more of a check-in. It's an opportunity to provide resources. It's an opportunity to have a conversation and have a just a get to know a therapist moment for those who may not know what therapy looks like and who therapists are. And in a lot of cases, I provide these visits myself, actually, in the organization my internship for. And a lot of those visits are very mundane and a check the box and everything's good and you'll see them next year. And in 4 or 5 months, maybe the provider will get an email that says, hey, I met you during my wellness visit. I was good then, but now I got a question. And able to set up those face-to-face conversations with people to support them, both now and into the future. All right, next one.
Oh, nope.
And that's it. So just one final note, as long as I have the microphone, especially nights like tonight, our nights to remember our police officers, our firefighters, our Department of Public Works employees. We're all tucked away nice and safe and warm, and they aren't. And I always take a moment to remember them on nights like tonight. Thankfully, our community has done a great job at hunkering down and hasn't created much drama for us today. So great job, folks, for staying home. That's all I got.
Thank you, Scott. As always, appreciate it. Next up, Public Works. I saw Mark's face before.
Yeah, I agree with Scott's last comments there too. Thanks for that, Scott. Positive comments, and goes out to say a lot about the community and the staff we work with, these types of situations and how they're handled in the community. Public Works, we had additional staff turnover last year, resulted in the recruitment of 2 new crew persons to the Public Works staff. We completed the Goodrich Square sidewalk loop, which has been a plan for some time. We completed pavement replacement on Woodcrest Lane and Chapel Drive. We had a staff member, Cody Price, obtained his arbor certification. We've had a kind of made a focus to calibrate salt equipment to try and reduce salt usage for environmental concerns and hopefully some cost savings. We received an Alliant Energy Tree Forever grant, and we planted 74 trees in 9 different locations in the city. At the wastewater plant, continued implementation of the GIS. They have some apps that they're using now for sewer cleaning and record keeping, helping to improve some of the efficiencies here. Completed sewer televising of the entire city last year. We did the last part that hadn't been completed. So that was a good thing to complete, to really be able to diagnose what condition our sewers are in. We had a laboratory audit from the wastewater, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Those are completed, I think, every 3 years. There was a pump. We think it was original equipment actually at the treatment plant that we replaced last year, and upgraded the aerial lighting, which is the lights that provide all the lighting at night at the treatment plant. A lot of planning for the water tower rehab project on the water side, and we continued the lead service line replacement program, which resulted in replacement of 15 eligible services.
So I just want to point out that 4.4 miles of sewer televising was completed, and that means that all sanitary sewer lines within the city have been televised within what period of time?
It was like, I think 7 years. In total, there's like 32 miles or 33 miles of sewers.
So I just don't want anybody to think that we're going to just stop now. I know that that's a favorite item of the council. We'll probably start back over now with another 4.4 miles. So,
well, we do enjoy those highlights. So
yes. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. And thanks to the utility folks. I know they're not present, but they are instrumental in a lot of these improvements that are being made. And we'll talk a lot about them in the next couple of items after this one. So, Kelsey, or do you want to take this one?
I can. It's pretty short, but for finances, the debt service ratio, it decreased from 41.97 to 36.8%. We've been consistently below 50%, which is following our debt policy. That number less than 10 years ago was over 82%. So we've made great strides with the debt service ratio. And in 2022, sewer also became officially debt-free. So that was another highlight.
Yeah, and I always like to put out that number, that 82% number, because it's just one of those numbers that if you forget how high that was, it's hard to recognize how far we've come in such a short time. It hasn't been, all that long ago where, there were serious concerns about our bond rating. And now, you can see we're at 36%, and in the next item or item after that, you'll see that number drops even more precipitously in the next couple of years. So thanks, Kelsey. Kelsey does so much more than this. I feel bad.
It's okay. It's not exciting. We don't have to point it out. It's good.
I always say one of my goals is for government to be invisible. So Kelsey's making good on that promise. Jenny, are you still with us?
I am, yes. So 2022 was a year of elections. And so we had our big one in November, the general election. And that's one I definitely want to highlight in here. We have our statistics on here, but I am really excited to say we did not have anyone wait for more than 15 minutes, which was not other municipalities of our size. There was definitely some challenges that came up, and I think that really says something about our election officials that we have, that they are trained really well, they're interested, they come to trainings. You'll hear me say that a lot, but I thought it was absolutely amazing, and I just want to bring a little bit of light to them. But we had the 3 elections. We had a total of 4,664 total votes in 2022. Which is a lot of ballots. And then also we did have the large amount of new voter registrations. So we were consistently, people are coming to Milton that are now voting in here. And so again, it was just a really great year for elections. And that's all I have.
All right. Just some general city statistics. These are made up of all of the departments, so I cannot take credit for any of these things, but Kelsey, Inga, Jenny, Ashley, Carrie, Mark, Kaylee, everybody's kind of involved in, all of these items that are up here. I won't go through all of them, but, again, just we've seen a lot of changes in City Hall over the last, let's say 10 years. And, the pandemic certainly, accelerated some of those changes in the sense that, the foot traffic at City Hall is not nearly what it used to be just a few years ago. And part of that is because we have, dramatically made an increase to allow for activities to be done online. There's a generational shift in the populace where, younger generations are much more apt to go online, and we continue to see the number of folks coming to City Hall and folks coming to Public Works decreasing, at an increasing rate. However, it doesn't mean that the transactions are decreasing. It doesn't mean that the interactions are decreasing. They're just taking on a different form. As you can see in this, 388 pet license, 14,000 utility bills, 5,562 credit card transactions, 9,500 cash check transactions at the window, mailbox, or drop box. The only thing that's really going to probably change on these numbers, other than things going up, are the items related to the fire department next year, or this year, I should say, as those will be shifted over to Edgerton. So, again, just a lot of activity. And generally when there is, home sales and development, these numbers continue to tick up as well. And certainly saw that in 2022 as well. So there's a presentation within this presentation. As you may be aware, the library is a very talented group of people. And I'm not going to say that they like to show off, because really they're so humble. They're just doing what they do, and it just looks like they're showing off. So Ashley provided us with the presentation within the presentation. So I'll kick it over to her if she's still here.
I am. And
Right.
I'm not going to apologize for being extra. I created I created a presentation for my foundation and my library board. So the full presentation is on our YouTube channel if you want to watch that, listen to Jamie and I talk about 2022. But 2022 was a great year for us. We had lots of fun things happen, and we'll move to the next slide. So I just want to introduce my staff. It's very rare that all 7 of us are together, but that bigger picture was us at the 4th of July event. We were fully staffed in 2022 with the same 7 wonderful women. And this is us kind of having our fun. We have dress up days throughout the year, and we always like to share those. It's a great staff, amazing staff. So we are continuing increasing our library visits. In 2022, we saw over 72,000 library visits. I always compare to 2019 before COVID, but we are making our way back up there. I'm excited to see we're already on trend to be busier this year than last year. Circulation went up as well. We are almost 100,000 in circulation, which is including our digital offerings. So we are seeing a lot of people strictly use our online services, but still using the library with their free library card. So we are seeing an increase in circulation as well as library visits. I always like to share this number with the community and our patrons. So we saved our patrons over $1.6 million. And that's just on the physical materials. That doesn't account for all of our online offerings, the books you can download for free onto your phone or your device. We saw a great increase in library card registrations last year, 546. And this is a picture of staff getting silly stringed when we did a challenge back in September. And we have almost 11,000 total registered users for the library. Programming is a huge priority here at the library. As you can see, we almost had 500 programs and over 13,000 in attendance. Jamie is a rock star, and her attendance was almost half of that with her story times and school visits, but all the staff members do a great job of creating programs, interacting with our patrons, with our community. We definitely stay busy here. We do a lot of work with the schools. Jamie's in the schools sometimes 7 times a day on a Friday. We work a lot with the high school students, the ag classes. Scott Rando students were instrumental in our gazebo and story gardens. I work with MECAs on a monthly basis. They come here, we go there. We have a great relationship with the school district. And then just a few more things. We added a free video streaming service. We have that amazing stairwell mural in the stairwell leading up to the 2nd floor. We participated in many community events. We partnered with the Milton House Museum to offer free museum experience passes. Also partnered with the Ice Age Trail, the Gathering Place, the Children's Museum of Rock County. We hosted a UW Whitewater practicum student, and she landed a job at a area library, which is awesome. Staff presented at a couple library conferences, and Marika has been participating in the Educators Neighborhood through Fred Rogers and PBS Kids. So we're staying busy inside and outside of the library, continuing learning, see how we can better serve our community and our patrons.
Absolutely. And you know, I say it all the time because I hear it all the time, how important the library is to the community, how they view it as theirs, as part of the fabric of the community, that it's just more than just a jewel. It really is a draw and something that people are so absolutely proud of. It really is kind of a symbol of Milton.
Well,
and we've got the best people
we do
doing it every day.
I don't think I'm quite done with my slides yet.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. There's always more. I can talk about it forever. We did receive a huge $3,500 grant through the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and created some early literacy kits for struggling readers. We added dyslexia-friendly books. We're going to be hosting a literacy night for parents in May to give parents some tips and tricks on how to support their struggling readers, and we're working with the school district with that. So that's pretty exciting. I think maybe one more slide. And then Story Gardens, of course. Story Gardens saw a lot of progress outside. The past few years have been behind the scenes work, but this year was actually work that was happening. A big shout out to Department of Public Works and everybody there. They were a big part of getting this done and together. We had our archway delivered from Burlington and installed. The gazebo with Sockness Builders, Kevin Shea, Kevin Ferguson, Scott Randall, and his students. They're a big part of getting that gazebo built. Barbara Benlin and Braxton Lopez in the shade garden. We got our chess tables installed. So a lot of Story Gardens work, and hopefully this year, cross my fingers really hard, we'll have some more done too. So that was really fun to kind of see that finally come to life. That's it.
I think that's it. Thank you, Ashley. I
Yes.
appreciate it. Just a few few more kind of bullet points. Economic development, as I noted kind of in the beginning, $67 million in new equalized value growth in 2022. That's up from $31 million last year. That says 2020, but it's actually 2021. So, you know, when you say $67 million, what does that mean? It means that we have been growing at we've been growing at an increasing rate, if that makes sense. Every year we seem to grow more than we did the year before, and we more than doubled our growth from last year. Over $80 million in private residential, commercial, and industrial investment. Somebody may ask, how can you have $80 million worth of investment, but only $67 million worth of new growth? The $80 million was the value of the construction, the cost of the construction. So when people take out building permits, they tell us how much that's going to cost. So as you can imagine, just think about it at your own home. If you go and remodel your kitchen for $30,000, your assessment doesn't go up $30,000, or hopefully not. So $80 million were invested right here into Milton, into bricks and mortar and buildings and expansions. The rail line extension was completed. That goes from Putman Parkway all the way along Putman Parkway out to Clausen Quality Chocolates, and it will likely be further extended this year out to Charter Next Generation. The reason that is important is that opened up an additional 200 plus acres of land for rail served sites, which is obviously the hot commodity that keeps us at the top of mind throughout the region in terms of development. We completed an addition subtraction boundary amendment for TIF 11, and it's likely we'll do that again this year. We had 2 new TIF development agreements, which is 1750 Putman Parkway, which I just spoke to their landlord yesterday, and they have landed a new tenant and hoping to have them start in operation, I think in the next couple of months. And then 7 new business startups in 2022. So a lot of economic development activity as usual, which seems to be kind of par for the course for us here in Milton. And of course, you know, the big thing that took place in 2022, but it's ironic that we say it took place in 2022 because it really started over the past, you know, several years. But it's important to kind of point out what that actually means. Gave a long presentation to the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce, kind of their lunch and learn last week, which was very well attended, and I was happy to do that. Had a lot of faces in the room that certainly didn't know, you know, the detail of it. But again, I know we all know it here, but increase of staff, increase in service level, increased funding, improved response times, increased coordination with the region, increased predictability and sustainability, expansion of facilities from 1 to 2 and eventually 4 stations. And so far there has been there will be no need for a referendum, and we're really hoping that stays the course even as we expand into 3 and 4 stations. And I think, you know, one of the big things in this group certainly is a big part of it. It's a testament to what 11 individual municipalities can do when they come together to create a solution for the entire region. It's one of the points that when people ask me, whether it's on the radio or on the street or at Milton Area Chamber of Commerce meetings or Janesville Noon Rotary or Janesville Morning Rotary or Janesville Kiwanis, and all these places that come and ask me to speak, you know, this was a regional effort that wasn't necessarily spearheaded by 1 or 2 individuals, certainly wasn't railroaded by 1 or 2 individuals. And, you know, 11 individual boards came to the conclusion that this was the best solution for their municipality. And when you think about that, let's just assume each one of those boards has 7 members. You know, you're talking about 77 people voted unanimously to do this. That is a big number. And that is a testament to, I think, how good of an idea this was. And we're so lucky to have the leadership in the places that we did at this time. You know, certain things happen for a reason. And the increased coordination within the region, I think, you know, Anissa would agree, and you know, certainly others who were been involved in this, our relationship with the surrounding towns and Edgerton and even their townships is so strong now, and that, you know, it just lends itself to so many other things, development, growth, shared services, just, you know, being able to talk to, you know, somebody in another township to see where they're at with the situation. I know our clerk, Jenny, works with the town clerks on a regular basis, and, you know, that wasn't always the case. And I think the fire department and the conversations that we had that brought us all together are a testament to that. So I think, you know, if I was to retire tomorrow, which I'm not, you know, at the end of the day, this is probably the biggest accomplishment that I will have been a part of. And I was a very small part of it. I was behind the scenes, you know, crunching numbers and trying to make sense of the mosaic. The real work was done by, you know, folks like the council and the town board and Randy Pickering and, you know, Chief Lucas and Chief Parker, and the list goes on and on and on. So, but it's great to see it coming to fruition. And I love the reports that we get from Randy on a regular basis, kind of saying how things are working really well. And just so folks are aware, we are still meeting on a weekly basis. Myself, Anissa, Randy, Brian Meyer, Chief Parker, Chief Whitmore. So those conversations are still ongoing. Kelsey's involved in those conversations as well. Inga's being brought in. So, there is still a lot of great collaboration and great coordination going on. And it's because of this, that this monumental achievement, that we're able to have that kind of good relationship with our neighbors. So this slide looks blank, but I can promise you it very much is not. This is the Inga Cushman specialty here. As you might remember from years past, she puts together these great videos. And if I can get that little button to show back up, there we go. Can you hear it?
No, you didn't share your audio.
Well, why don't I do that? All right, here we go. You didn't miss anything yet. Those videos are always just so awesome. And like I said, when we first started this, you know, it's hard to remember all the things that you did in a year. Now think about trying to remember all the things an entire organization did. And one thing, you know, I've seen that video a couple times, and the one thing that jumps out at me, which I think is, you know, very important, is I think you can tell in a lot of those pictures that we enjoy what we're doing. We enjoy the people that we work with. You know, it's important to us, the work we do. It's important to us how we're perceived by the community. And that's 100% due to the people that we have. We've got the right people in the right place at the right time. And as I kind of said about the fire department consolidation, everything happens for a reason. And when you put the right people in the right place at the right time, even when it's just dumb luck, great things happen. And it was not dumb luck that we have assembled this group. It's been through the support of the council for years, through budgeting and through, you know, working with staff and getting to know staff and trusting staff and understanding, you know, the various roles of the process. It just really sticks out to me when I watch that video and see those pictures that we have a tremendous group of people, and we really like what we do, and we like the people we work with, and it really comes down to the fact that's because we care about the community. So I hope you could sense that through the video, and look forward to next year's video. Certainly don't want to end on a low note, because I always like this presentation, but you know, the 2023 challenges. I have made this PowerPoint presentation now for probably, maybe I didn't do it my first year, but this will probably be the 8th time. And I could tell you that these 5 bullet points probably haven't changed in those, you know, 8 years. They continue to be the challenges that we face. Uncertainty in state funding levels related to the 2024 budget. You know, we're encouraged to hear that there's, you know, potential work afoot at the legislature through the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. But you know, until there's you know, meaningful legislation, we just, you know, continue to you know, put our head down and do our jobs under the current constraints. Project coordination, if development continues at its current pace, as you may recall, during the 2023 budget deliberations, one of the moves that we made was we removed a position from the budget, which was going to be our planning and zoning administrator. We are still confident that we can absorb those duties within the organization, because that's what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. But, you know, as you kind of saw a few slides ago, last year we had 31 million, or 2 years ago we had $31 million worth of growth. Last year we had $67 million worth of growth. If this year we have $134 million worth of growth, at some point, you know, we will need to look to alternatives to kind of spread that out. Balancing service delivery with priorities versus incidents, you know, that always continues to be a challenge for every local government. Something comes up, everybody drops what they're doing, runs to that situation. And before you know it, you know, when you look back and do a debrief, you think, okay, wait a minute, you know, there could have been a better way to handle that, or was that big of a situation, or, you know, could prioritization have ruled the day? And then increasing the tax base, as I say every year, 3 or 4 times during the council meetings, it's really about get busy living or get busy dying, and that's the Wisconsin model. And we are very fortunate that we continue to grow. And we want to maintain and preserve the Milton way of life. That was a big thing that came out of not only the 2015 comprehensive plan update, but also the 2020 strategic planning initiative that we undertook with the council. There is a certain appeal, and Christine talked about it in her presentation a couple of minutes ago. There is a certain appeal to Milton that we have done a wonderful job of protecting. And it really is that idea that we are a small, close-knit community, but has the wherewithal and progressiveness to understand how to grow thoughtfully and grow responsibly. And as evidenced by the fire department, work with our neighbors, be neighborly, and you know, really just recognize that the rising tide lifts all boats. And I see that as the Milton way. So those are the challenges in 2024. And there'll probably be the challenges in 2025, but that's what we have ahead of us. So any questions about that presentation? Or if you want to, everybody give a round of applause to Inga for the PowerPoint presentation, I would certainly understand, or for the video, I mean, I would certainly understand. Gotta stop the share. There it is. Nope, not stop the video. Stop the share.
I just want to comment. This is always one of our just favorite meetings, right? For us all to really take a minute and review the year, because as it's happening, we're involved with it. And then, you know, life goes on and we move on to the next event that comes up. And this is a time for us to pause and to reflect and to really be proud of our community. It's a partnership, right, between city staff, the council, the mayor's office, and the entire community. It's not just one institution's show. It's about everybody. And it's so nice to see all of that engagement and all of that hard work and dedication and loyalty. And it really speaks highly. And I know that we all, including city staff and the community, for the most part, we're pretty humble. And that's good to be humble, but it's also okay to be proud of what you've done, what you've accomplished, your part in just making Milton a better place each and every day. And that's why people are attracted to come here. That's why industry invests here. That's why we have 3 subdivisions. That's why we have a well-respected school district. I appreciate the time that staff puts into doing the year-end review. That is not just like a 2-minute presentation. And it just allows us to really think about the good work and the hard work. And I know that it's not easy for anybody to be in local government or be an elected official or be in public service. But what everybody is doing really is impactful and it matters. And I am so grateful to have all of you to do this journey together, right? It's been challenging at different times. We all, you know, had COVID and so many things that we went through together. And you know, hopefully we have a great year of growth again. Hopefully we all have electricity for the next 24 hours. But just like, you know, a challenge of a major storm, like we'll get through it, right? We always get through the challenge together. So I just want to thank everyone. And I'll just open it up for other people for comments and for consideration, because it's really a nice time to just have a little bit of a conversation about the presentation, because we don't have these opportunities except for, you know, once a year or at the community picnic sometimes.
I thought the presentations were all just incredible. And I also just want to give a shout out to all of our city staff. You know, we wouldn't be what we are, Milton, the great place to be, if it weren't for all of you. And this is full proof right here. So thank you all.
Thank you, Linda.
Amen.
I would agree with all of that. It's been remarkable data that has shown all of the accomplishments for all of the areas. And I like the way that you have developed some activities to celebrate some of the work that's been taking place and showing appreciation for all the staff for the work that's been done. So
I just wanted to mention the other day on my Facebook feed, some stuff popped up about the Milton Public Library being the library of the year and, you know, that kind of stuff. And And it gave me an opportunity to kind of think back to where we were when the library became the library of the year. And the thought was, boy, it would be greedy, but we deserve to be library of the year again. And I don't know whether that's possible, or that's certainly not along the lines that Anissa was talking about, being humble. But we've got a really, really great thing going with our public library, and it just gives me joy to see all of those pictures and all of those kids and all of the people having a good time while they're learning, which is just super. And that's not taking anything away from any of the other departments out there, but we've got so many great things going in this town.
Well, I certainly appreciate those comments from everybody. I agree as well. We got great people and great facilities and great community to support us.
So Eric, is this your first year in review? Or I can't remember, did you have one last year?
At first.
This is your first, okay, all right. Brian?
I think he probably actually watched our last year's year in review when he kept sitting in on our meetings before he joined council. But anyways, that was a nice presentation.
True. There was so much to take in though at the time. So yes.
Very nice presentation though. And video.
All right. Well, we'll move on to get back to business. But
Yep.
I will take this feel good feeling and I will hang on to it through the rest of our agenda and tonight. You know, sometimes at the end of the day, I'm tired after working all day. And I think, oh, I hope council goes good. And it always does. It really does. And this is such a great, energizing activity to go through with all of you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So back to Infrastructure Week.
Yeah.
And I'd like to introduce you to our up and coming star from DPW, Mark Langer, who will get some sort of Academy Award for his presentation tonight. It'll be a lot to take in, but you've had an opportunity to go through this. Again, it is a commitment to all of us to invest, right? It's a commitment to the city, to our businesses, to our community. And we got some exciting stuff going on. I mean, it's been, I think, more exciting than sewer televising. So we'll check back in at the end of the meeting to see if y'all think so. But I'll turn it over to Mark and Al and Kelsey, and we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I would say, and hopefully everybody agrees when this is all done, that I think this next item on the agenda, albeit a big one, is a feel-good item as well, because I feel like it is a continuation of a lot of the things that we just discussed in that last presentation of working together in collaboration and being creative and really thinking outside of the box. But you know, ultimately what we're going to talk about is potentially, I don't know, we didn't go back and look at the facts, but every time I say this, people who have been around for a while nod their head. Yeah, potentially the largest infrastructure package in the history of Milton. And that sounds alarming. That sounds daunting. But hopefully, as I am able to walk through this with you, at the end, you'll say, wow, you know, that's quite the bang for your buck. I'm going to start off. I'm going to share my screen again, just real briefly. And in the packet that you were provided tonight, there was a memo, obviously, and that's kind of a summary. And then there's a handful of attachments. And I just kind of want to draw your attention to some of those attachments and walk through them and kind of lay this out in a narrative fashion. I guess that's how I operate, and some people say that I'm good at it. I don't know, unless they're lying. But so I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay. Now this thing's in the way again. The first thing I'm going to bring up is, and everybody can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of where it all begins. As you may recall, a couple of years ago when Mark Langer joined our team, one of the first things he did is he put together a capital improvement program for the city of Milton. And it was really kind of the first time we'd ever had that type of undertaking. So, that is the genesis of all of this. But over the last, maybe year, give or take, a few items have cropped up that were unanticipated. And other items have kind of shifted in the queue. So as we started talking about a lot of these, and we started talking about a lot of these last fall with the council, even during the budget conversation, as you'll see the item at the top of the list, the most expensive item, albeit, was something that we brought to the council's attention last fall. So looking at the capital improvement program and talking about, these projects that are coming and how development is starting to, outpace infrastructure, and some news from the DNR. And I'm not going to fixate on that a long time, but, there was some changes at the DNR and some mandates came down from the state of Wisconsin that were unfunded, as they typically are from the state. So we started to kind of create a running list of, all right, here are the capital improvement. Here's the things in the CIP. Here are the things that have come up because of development has necessitated them. And here are the things that have come up because of changes in the DNR. And ultimately, as we started working through this starting last summer, this is ultimately the list that we came up with. We've got Madison Avenue and North Clear Lake. As you may recall, we brought that to the council last fall and said, hey, is this something that you want us to pursue? Because we feel like we're in a position where the road is deteriorating. It's not going to get any better. And any relief from the state is likely, 5, 6, 7 years out. Council said they agreed, so we put that in the hopper. Putman Parkway cul-de-sac, that is one of those items that has been kind of necessitated by development. If anybody has been out on Putman Parkway in the last probably, 15 years, if you head down towards Penn Color, the road just ends. There's a rail, the rail crosses some pavement, and about 5 feet after the rail, the road just ends. The idea was at some point in the future, potentially we could, carry that road on, maybe connect it with Chicago Street. Some of the plans that were developed back in the, early 2000s or late 2000s showed, potential road network back there. But with the new rail spur that Clausen Quality Chocolates put in, one, we had to remove the vast majority of that pavement, and two, it essentially created two crossings, because as you can imagine, there's the north-south one, and then there's the new leg that tails off in a tangent. So in discussions with basically the DOT and the engineers, we said, does it make sense to just go put that pavement back? Now we have two crossings. We don't know what the future of that parcel is. We know that we have it under option by a single user that hopefully we hear from in the next couple of months. What makes the most sense? Ultimately, smarter people than me came together and said, you know what, we should really cul-de-sac that road, get rid of the crossings, get rid of the public crossings. And in the event that that parcel develops a private crossing, is much more easy to negotiate with the OCR and the DOT. So in discussions with the DOT and the engineers on the project, a cul-de-sac was proposed, so that we have that in our funding package as well. The water main loop, which has been in the master plan for a long time, is another one of those items that has been kind of moved up in the queue because of development. We talked about this a little bit at Plan Commission today. Right now, water main runs down High Street, Old 59, out there by Cargill. And it runs in an east-west direction, and then it just stops pretty much at the city limits. Also, water runs down Putman Parkway in an east-west direction and pretty much stops at the end of Putman Parkway down by Clausen Quality Chocolates. In the engineering world, I'm told, and I take Mark's word for this, those are very, very long dead ends, and they cause problems in the system. They cause pressure issues. There's a lack of redundancy in the system. Water remains stagnant and creates a corrosion and rust buildup in the pipes. So a long time ago, it was known that we needed a water main loop that would connect those two dead ends. And ultimately that would go out 59 down Vickerman and then reconnect with Putman Parkway. And because of Clausen Quality Chocolates and Charter Next Generation and the fact that now we are annexed all the way out to Vickerman Road, this water main loop went from, yeah, we're going to need this someday to, yeah, we need this now. And we've been in discussions with Clausen Quality Chocolates and Charter Next Generation about this since the onset of both of their projects. So they're aware of this, and they know that they will have some level of assessment and participation in this water main loop. But nonetheless, if we're going to construct it, we've got to pay for it first, and then they pay us back. That's kind of how assessments work. Lift station number 6 and lift station number 5, those again are kind of been in our in our queue for a while. Both of these lift stations that serve the sanitary sewer are outdated, in need of updating, and have safety concerns, frankly, based on their design and the age of their facilities. So as you may recall, I think it was back in 2021, the city acquired a piece of property on Elm Street for the specific purpose of reconstructing and relocating the Elm Street lift station. And we are in the process of having discussions with property owners up and down South John Paul and potentially Municipal Drive to upgrade and potentially relocate that lift station as well. So you can see that lift station number 5 has a little bit higher price tag than lift station number 6, and that's because we haven't kind of nailed down the location yet. North Street sewer replacement. As we talked about in Mark's presentation during the year in review, sewer televising has been completed on the entire city, and the North Street sewer, most folks who live in Milton probably don't even know where North Street is. It's just the very small street that runs in a northerly direction off of Madison Avenue that heads into the wastewater treatment plant. That is where those are where the main feeds for the wastewater treatment plant come from that basically serve the entire city's sanitary sewer. And those pipes are in pretty dire need of repair. If one of those were to go down, there's a good chance that a large portion of the city would be without sewer. So we know we need to address that issue. West Water Tower rehab, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. This is the rehabilitation of the water tower over by Liberty Park. The water tower is severely outdated and needs to be upgraded, and we're going to also refinish the exterior of it. And I think there was a discussion at the council level about what that's going to look like sometime maybe last spring. That is on the hopper for next year as well. Well, 4, 5, and 6 all have mandatory DNR upgrades. There's been a change that has been brought down from the DNR that storage needs to be separated from the facility. So all 3 of those facilities have to be upgraded in order to create that chemical separation. In addition, number 5 has a deteriorating motor or generator in it that needs to be replaced and upgraded. There are various wastewater treatment plant improvements that are always in our capital improvement plan, and this next 2 years is no different. Those run the gamut of minor upgrades to replacing of equipment and updating of processes. Sanitary sewer improvements is same thing. Every year we have those items listed in our capital improvement program, and this year these next 2 years are no different. Most of that's going to be to sewer lining, which is how we are able to, which is the outcome of sewer televising. Once you do sewer televising, you find where there's deficiencies, cracks, breaks in the system, and you go in and line those sewers in order to create in order to extend their useful life. And lastly, the Northeast Lift Station. This is one that's been precipitated by development as the Bonnie Mead subdivision and Journey Hill subdivision begin or continue to expand. At some point, there's going to need to be a lift station. Both of those developers are aware of that. Again, this will have a high portion of it will be accessible But similar to what we had to do on Parkview Drive a few years ago, we need to pay for it first. So when we had all those conversations, and I can tell you this list has been longer at times, and this list has been shorter at times over the last several months. But we've really ramped up the conversations. We worked with our financial advisor at PMA to talk about, sequencing of these things. And when it was all settled and the dust kind of fell and we finally got Mark to make a decision, the number landed on $8.3 million. So all of those projects add up to about 8.3 million. So the next question invariably will be, how are we going to pay for it? But before we talk about how are we going to pay for it, I want to stop and just ask if there's any questions in there. I've been talking for about 16 minutes, so I don't know if because I can't see you because I've got my screen shared, if anybody wanted any questions.
I have a question about these DNR upgrades.
Yeah.
I don't recall having so many in the past. Is this, maybe Mark can just give us a little more insight on it. Is this something that is, how often do they go through these improvements and upgrades that they require us to do? And I guess the main question is, do we need to just do a rolling fund for unexpected DNR upgrades?
These upgrades are on 3 of the wells that, well, if you recall, well 2 was recently rehabilitated. So that's why that is not included. What happened was there's a rule change at the DNR level. It actually hasn't gone into effect yet, but it's coming, and it'll be required that we implement these changes by the end of 2024, roughly. And it takes time to go through the process for design and construction. What's required is that the chemicals that are used to treat our water, they have to be in separate rooms, certain chemicals. So we have to add on to the buildings to create that room to put those chemicals in to meet the separation requirements. As Al had mentioned, well 5 is a little unique because the generator for backup power supply there is a dated unit that is also not, it just needs a lot of maintenance, and it's 30 years old. So looking to replace that at the same time rather than come back a few years down the road when it might break or have more problems, and rehab the well again. So that's why that one's a little larger, but that's the reason for these changes. As far as other changes that will come, I mean, I'm not aware of anything. I don't know when the last time the DNR mandated requirements for the well specifically. There could be other things that come down the down from the DNR specific to the lead service line is a good possible example. They haven't yet said we have to do this, but it could be something where they say, yeah, you have to do it, and then we'd have to go replace substantial amounts of water main and water pipes within the city. So that I don't know, I don't have the answer for what might be next, how much it'll be or when it will be, but that's what we know about the wells.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about any of these items? And just so you're aware, we're going to talk about a vast majority of these items in the subsequent agenda items. That's when the Mark Langer show really begins. So get your popcorn and tea. So any other questions about these though? All right, I will click over to the next document then. So again, invariably folks are going to say, okay, that all sounds great, but how do we intend to fund it? Again, working with Kelsey, Mark, our financial advisor, we have kind of developed this funding package. And there's a lot of numbers on the page here, and I'll do my best to kind of walk through them. But when this process started, it was very important to me and to us that we do everything we can to not take on any additional tax levy supported debt. We have been debt-free since 2015, or I shouldn't say debt-free. We have not taken out any levy supported debt since 2015. The day will come when we need to do that, but now is not necessarily that time. So that was one of the goals we had in mind. The other goal we had in mind, obviously, was to limit the amount of borrowing necessary to do $8.3 million of improvements. And frankly, when we first started this process, I thought, we would bring forth a $5 or $6 million borrowing. But working through the cash flows, and we have all the details of this, and it's included in the packet as well, if you have questions about those, working through the cash flows and other available funding sources, we ultimately were able to satisfy, I believe, both of those goals. First, you can see this column here, which is general fund, which again really represents levy supported or tax levy supported. We are able to do all of those improvements without any new levy supported debt. That's why there's a 0 in that column. Water and wastewater, we have a few unique situations. We have the ARPA dollars, which is about $590,000 to $600,000. And through these discussions with our financial advisor and the PSC indicated, hey, that West Water Tower rehab, that is not eligible to be borrowed for because it's considered routine maintenance. Yes, it has a price tag of $688,000, but you can't borrow for that. So in the mosaic that we had at our disposal, we took a portion of the ARPA dollars and allocated it towards the West Water Tower rehab. This amount down here, $2.6 million. That is a combination of existing cash and future revenues over 2023 and 2024. That seems like a large number, but through the cash flows in the utilities, both the water and the wastewater can absorb those expenditures without necessitating a rate study in either utility and without bringing those reserves or cash flows down to a level that wouldn't be able to support O&M for I believe a 9-month period. So we are very well off in both our water and sewer fund. And as Kelsey mentioned earlier tonight, the sewer fund is debt free. So that's one of the reasons why we are in a good position in the sewer fund. So this 2.6 and this $2 million is basically existing cash and future revenues within those utilities. And then likewise through stormwater, that is existing cash and future revenues. On the general fund side, we have a mixture of TIF 11 funding the majority of the Putman Parkway cul-de-sac. We always have sidewalk funds allocated in every annual budget in the amount of $25,000. We have earmarked $12,123 of wheel tax. We have earmarked $173,000 of budgeted capital. We have residual funds left over from 2022, which is the next item on the agenda, but this kind of gives you a preview. There are funds left over from 2022, and we are allocating a portion, not all, to this funding package. As you may recall, around this time last year, the council made a decision with the residual funds from 2021 to set aside approximately $136,000 in a capital fund to be used for future capital items. And at the time, it was discussed maybe even North Clear Lake Avenue and Madison Avenue. So we've allocated those. We have a small amount of TIF 7 funds allocated towards Madison Avenue as well. One thing I want to point out, this is, and I hope you can see me highlighting this, this is for 2023 and 2024. So this funding package would carry us through not only this calendar year, but next calendar year. And why I think that that's important to point out is we are saying we're going to only earmark $12,000 worth of wheel tax for this. We collect about $145,000 worth of wheel tax on an annual basis. So over a 2-year period, we're going to collect roughly $290,000. And we're allocating only $12,000 of that to those projects on that previous sheet. Likewise, you're going to see in a little bit, we've got, and I can't remember the exact number, we have more, I think we've got 160,000, Kelsey, in 2022. 140 in 2022 residual funds, and we're only allocating 80,000. And then lastly, we generally budget $256,000 a year annually for capital through the general fund. So that means over a 2-year period, we would have $512,000 if all things remain the same, and we're only allocating $173,000. The reason I point that out and the reason I think that's important is we understand that there are more needs. There are squad cars, there are plows, there are potholes, there are water main breaks that have not happened yet. There are potential street repairs that may need to be done. We do not want to put ourselves in a position where we empty the piggy bank for 2 years in order to do kind of a laundry list of projects, some that have been long overdue. So I just want to make sure that that's clear on the onset. We are not drawing things down to zero. We are being thoughtful and trying to be creative in the mix of use of funds in order to protect not only this investment, but future investments. And we still have the capital improvement program that we will review even after all these items have a check mark in front of them. And we know that there's always needs. Like I said, the squad car, for example, is something that we budget $73,000 a year every year. And we typically budget that out of capital. So if we were to really take what we anticipated, $512,000, how would we fund those squad cars? Likewise, if we took all $290,000 worth of wheel tax, how could we ever do any kind of street repairs over the next 2 years? Whether that's just preventative maintenance, seal coating, chip sealing, or, you know, again, in the event that there's a large water main break somewhere and we need to come back in and do a paving or patching, or, you know, we need to, I don't know. That's the whole idea. We don't know. We know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. So we're trying to address both of those things to the best of our ability. So what this means is for $8.3 million worth of projects, we are looking to borrow $2.25 million. $1.25 million comes out of water, $1 million comes out of sewer. I'm going to click over to the next spreadsheet that was in our handouts. This one is a little bit more complicated, but what I want to focus on is down here. I talked about in the, well, actually Kelsey talked about in the year in review, how our debt service ratio continues to decrease. And over on this side, you can see, oh, I do this every time I talk about this. I go to the wrong one. You can see we're at 36.8. We plan to dip down to 28. And even with this borrowing, we would only jump back up to 31, but then go right back down to 25. So overall, if you look at on a trajectory or a linear look, our debt service will continue to go down. Our debt ratio will continue to go down even with this proposed new borrowing. One other thing I want to point out on these presentations, this is just another, again, visualization of levy supported debt. We are looking at not only 2023 and 2024, but we have started to already look ahead to 2025, 2026, and we are anticipating potentially another borrowing in 2025 and 2026. And in that borrowing in 2025, 2026, there very likely will be a general fund component, but we're not there yet. But again, we've got good people who think long and think hard. And when I mean long, I mean they think about it for a long time, but they're also thinking long term. We don't want to just do one big bang and then say, all right, we're good to go. Essentially, that's what happened in 2007, and we're still paying for that borrowing. You know, we want to think long term. So what this again shows is generally principal and interest on the 2023 borrowings. And then if we were to interject 2025 borrowings, this is how it would play out. So again, we would be looking to pay this off in 7 years as kind of codified within our debt policy. So, you know, the big recap, I guess, in summary, is $8.3 million worth of projects that address existing needs, long-term needs, and will facilitate current and future development, as well as only needing to borrow $2.25 million in order to accomplish it, while still keeping all other funds in a very, very healthy place. So again, I will pause here. There's still more to discuss, but again, that's a lot of information. So I want to give folks an opportunity so they don't, if they have questions, so they don't forget or.
I have a question for clarification. So following sort of the planning that we did years ago was to we had debt and then we paid it off, right?
Yes.
Similar to this, we had projects that we planned. We took out debt, not necessarily all levy supported debt, but we took out debt in our utilities. We paid them off. And now we have a next round of projects that need to be completed, and we will follow a similar project plan that we did in the past. Is that correct? To an extent, or
yes, I will say that it will follow that framework. The big distinction that I will make is it will not follow the same path. We are not going to take out a 20-year note for streets that we have already repaved since then and still haven't paid off the note. We are looking to do all of this in non-tax levy supported debt. The vast majority, if we look at this presentation or this item here, again, our GO debt limit, the vast majority, this 36.8, 28, 31, that column, that's GO, that's levy supported debt. You know, and the vast majority of this was taken out almost 10 or more years ago. We're not going to do that again. And what this slide shows is, for all intents and purposes, our debt service does not really increase. It remains relatively flat and then jumps way down in 2028, remains flat, jumps way down again in 2023. And that's the idea, is to stabilize it and have it work through the system in a very kind of flat and fluid, as opposed to big jumps in debt service, because that's where it starts to get dangerous in terms of the tax rate. You know, if all of a sudden, you know, you've got let's just say $8 million worth of outstanding debt, and then you take out another $8 million worth of debt, although you're legally able to do that, your tax rate is going to jump by $2. And folks aren't going to understand, what do you mean? We're trying to flatten it out. So the impact on the tax rate, and we're only talking about the 2025, 2026, there won't be any impact on the tax rate for this 2023, 2024 borrowing. We want to level it out so there's no impact on the tax rate. But again, for this, the borrowing that we're discussing tonight, and I know I probably just made that really confusing, this is only 2023, only 2024, and it will have no impact on the tax rate because it's not levy supported debt. And in the same respect, it will not necessitate a rate increase. Now, we're going to review our rates like we do, because we haven't done it since 2015, or 2017, I'm sorry. But this wouldn't necessitate it. Does that, I probably over answers your question, but I want to make sure there's a clear distinction that we're not following the old pattern.
right, there's a framework, but we're being more thoughtful, more intentional, and following our policies that the council adopted as a result of previous financial decisions. Actually, the policy actually drives this project.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I had a question, Al. So I like how you described the funding sources, and I think I understand most all the TID funds. How do you determine how much you can pull from those funds and how much you safely leave in the bank? I'm curious.
Great question. So for folks who have kind of served on the JRB or been around when we adopt a project plan, every TIF project plan is required by state statutes to have basically a projection of not only revenues, but expenses. And in TIF, one of the things that's beneficial for TIF in the state of Wisconsin is you can use those TIF dollars not only for development incentives, but you can use those for infrastructure improvements that will support and contribute to or advance development to occur. So every project plan has a budget. Every TIF has a budget, just like our city has a budget. So we know where the increment is and where the expenditures are. So in TIF 11 specifically, that is our newest TIF, but fast forward 5 or 6 years, that's going to be our biggest TIF 10 times over, because that's where Clausen Quality Chocolates is, that's where Signature Warehousing is, that's where Carl's Place is, that's where Putman Parkway is, that's where Diamond Assets and CNG. So we know that TIF district is generating increment. We also know that it has expenses from pledged development incentives, but we don't pledge 100% of the increment for reasons just like this. And not all development that occurs within those TIF districts is asking for TIF assistance. So there is some surplus cash. So in TIF 11 specifically, $150,000 is something that can be absorbed by the TIF because it's an eligible TIF expense as outlined by state statutes. And then conversely, TID 7, not nearly as robust, not nearly as cash flush, but we're only talking about $23,000. My guess is, and I hope I'm not wrong, fast forward 18 months from now, we likely will not use a single dollar from TIF 7 because we're hoping that bids come back better and things like that. But TIF 7 can utilize or could absorb a $23,000 expense because of its cash flow. Good question, though. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good answer.
Any other questions about this? Okay, so one more spreadsheet. I know there was more spreadsheets in the handout, but a lot of that was just kind of extra detail in case you really got bored or needed to fall asleep, or if you had, really drilled down questions. The last piece of this conversation that we'd like to have tonight is those other funds. So I kind of mentioned some of those as we were talking, but as we talked about, we've got ARPA funds in the amount of $600,000. We know we have to spend those by the end of 2024. In all conversations that we've had with our financial consultant, other communities, Vanderwall and Associates, Von Briesen, law firms, everybody says, hey, the best use of those funds is a one-time expense that either you would borrow for or you can't borrow for. So that's why we said $510,000 for the water tower. And then we're going to earmark $90,000 for the ordinance updates that we are hopefully going to start here in the next couple of months. In terms of the residual funds from 2022, and I know this is the next item and I'm jumping ahead, but I kind of want to address it here and then so you understand it better when we get to that item. We've got roughly $140,000 worth of residual funds left from 2022. We are looking to pledge $80,000 to Madison Avenue. If you remember during the budget discussions last November and October, we originally had the police chief recruitment at $30,000. We bumped that down to $20,000 and said, hey, we will bump that back up if we're able to. I believe we're able to. So we're earmarking $10,000 for the police chief recruitment. And then that leaves $50,000 for council discretion. And the reason I thought it was important to keep this in there is I know there was discussions about this being potentially utilized to help out some of our nonprofits. But because we have these two expenses that A, we cannot borrow for, and B, they're one-time expenses, it would be more prudent, in our opinion, from a fiscal perspective, record-keeping perspective, just making sure that we don't get in bad with the feds, that those dollars could be used better on these projects. And then these dollars, which have less constraints or really very limited constraints, unless they're put on by the council, would be a more prudent use of those dollars. And then lastly, the $136,000 from 2021, which we are pledging entirely to Madison Avenue. in this funding package. So what we are looking for tonight, and again, I'm not saying that we can't have more discussion. Ultimately, what we're looking for, as discussed in the memo, is two things. One, we're looking for authorization to proceed with the borrowing of $2.25 million for the projects as outlined in the staff materials. We would then bring that borrowing back to the council, likely in May or June, but we need to start that process. And then the second item we would be looking for is authorization from the council to utilize these funding sources on this screen that I have up right now. These ones are, like I said, earmarked, the ones in red. Those are not set in stone. Certainly the council can say yes or no, but what we would really like to see is these funding sources. The council gives their blessing tonight, so we know that ultimately this is how much we're going to need to borrow. If the council wants to see some of these numbers go away or become less, that ultimately means this number is going to get bigger because there's really no other way to fill that gap. So again, we're looking for an authorization to begin the process to borrow $2.25 million as outlined on this sheet, and to give us your blessing on these funding sources for this funding package. That's ultimately kind of what we need to know tonight. Now, each one of these projects will come back to the council in some way, shape, or form. Many of them you'll see tonight, but not all of them. And some of them you've already seen, frankly, the water tower, for example. They will come back once we have bids, once bids are awarded and things of that nature. But we need to get the funding package in place in order to start that process for many of these projects. So that ultimately concludes my presentation for the 2023-2024 infrastructure borrowing package. And Mark and Kelsey and myself are available for questions. And thank you.
So when I'm looking over at thinking about the projects that you have, can you go back to that slide, the proposed projects that would be covered under this funding?
Yep.
The only one possibly that we could just say, okay, we're just not going to do it. These all have to be done for the most part.
Yeah, yes, that is an excellent point. Yes, there are really no projects on this list that can't be done, or that like we can say, you know what, we're just not going to do that. We could say, you know what, we're not going to worry about the Northeast lift station at this time. We're just not going to worry about that. But we're going to have to do it. It's going to have to be done. So we might be able to slide some of these projects from 2023 to 2025, but all of them have to be done with the exception of the top two. These projects do not have to be done, but there probably should be.
Well, and so let's just say we'll look at the bottom ones and we won't look at the top two. If we delay any of them for 2 years, it's going to, it's just going to cost more money, right? We know that delaying projects doesn't get cheaper over time.
And I will say, and Mark can certainly jump in, many of these we cannot delay for 2 years. As Mark said, the DNR upgrades are going to be required by the end of 2024, so we can't do that. The West Water Tower rehab, we've already kicked that can down the road for a while. North Street, we could delay, but if one of the pipe bursts, we're going to be in big time trouble. Both of these lift stations need to be improved. The water main loop is going to be a necessity for Charter Next Generation to develop their project. So
let's not forget the Madison Avenue water main also has some issues. If we recall, there was a break on Christmas Day.
Oh yeah.
2 Christmases ago.
Right.
So
although to me it's sensible, and this is not like a frilly little list. We would really love if we could do these projects.
No,
these are things
I made Mark cut all those out.
Like these are like the nuts and bolts.
and the motorcycles for the police department and
The horse. I always wanted to have a horse for the police department.
Kelsey and Jenny's pontoon that they wanted. Yeah,
Yeah.
that. I said the list was longer at one point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think the proposal is unreasonable. Madison, I mean, we've been talking about the Madison Avenue project for a really long time, and that is.
And we have tried, and we've tried, Mark's tried, I've tried, Howie tried, Don Verwink tried, you know, to get that moved up in the queue. And ironically, because I don't want this to catch anybody by surprise, they're very likely going to be doing upgrades to to Highway 59 in the next year or two, but they're going to stop at County End.
Right. I know that we've been having those conversations, and you know, you just don't. Like every city has a Madison Avenue, right? In the state of Wisconsin, like every.
Janesville's got about 50 of them.
Right. So I think about all the, and Linda, you'll appreciate this because you go to these conferences the most, and Ryan, you've gone, where like literally we go to the conferences, the League of Wisconsin Municipality conferences. We have all these elected officials from across the state of Wisconsin, and they're all like, I need my road to be upped in the DOTQ, right? Everybody, so we're not getting it moved up. Like the bottom line is it's not going to get moved up. So, you know, we have to make some critical decisions about that.
And Mark made a good point, and I apologize for not making it. He that $1.9 million, that's not just to go and pave it and make it look pretty. That's to replace the water main and sewer underneath it, right? Sewer as well, Mark?
That'll include sewer rehabilitation, lining.
So, you know, if we're going to dig up a road, let's do it right. So, you know, that $1.9 million is not only going to make the road not as jarring, it's going to fix, you know, the utilities underneath it for hopefully the next 50 years as well. And as Mark pointed out, you know, we've had a number of breaks along that line. And this will address that as well. So it's important to note that is, it's not just pavement.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, like when we are aware of situations within our infrastructure, whether this, you know, the state should be doing this or not, but we've been aware for a long period of time and we've had problems. It gets to a point where we are obligated to fix problems that we know about, right? We are obligated to not have our sewer line collapse. What, you know, next year we don't do a project, we don't do the North Street sewer replacement, and then we have a huge sewer issue. The city, you know, the community is going to be like, you knew about this last year? you decided just not to do it? Like, you know, I think about those things, like what are our obligations and responsibilities to the residents and the businesses of this community? And the people that send their kids to our schools.
And again, I'm not meaning to throw shade on any of our neighbors, but in a future life, I used to work in a different municipality, and I can tell you, without a doubt, we get far less complaints about our roads than what my experience has been in the past. I mean, in fractions of that. In terms of just general complaints, because for the most part, our streets are in really great shape and our PACER ratings prove it. Those are facts. If there is a street that we get consistent, regular complaints on, it's that stretch of Clear Lake Avenue and Madison Avenue. I mean, we get a handful a year, every year, especially in like March, April, May.
Well, and the complaints are legitimate, right?
They are.
Like, I mean, every time I come into town, I'm like, feel like all my bones are shaking. So, I mean, I think to that, we're being responsive to residents, right? When we consistently have concerns that are legitimate concerns over this, this stretch of road, then, you know, it's time to be responsive to those concerns.
Mhm. Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah, I mean, if everybody feels comfortable with what we've discussed and they feel like they've had enough time and information, I don't want anybody to feel rushed. I know there's a lot of information here, but if everybody is comfortable, yeah, like I said, kind of in summary, we're really looking for in essence, two motions. One motion would be to authorize city staff to begin, I guess, the process of borrowing $2.25 million as outlined in the staff materials. And then the other item would be to authorize staff to utilize the funding sources as outlined in the attached materials.
We make that motion, Linda. I just want to say, this is nice comprehensive list that definitely we agree is all important projects that we need to do. And I think you guys did a fantastic job trying to find other fund sources of paying for it outside of just borrowing. So to limit it down to just $2.25 million for an $8 million plus project, it's nice work to all those involved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you make that motion, Ryan?
You can go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
So
I'll
motion
make the
number
motion.
one, make motion number one.
Okay, motion number one is to approve the borrowing of,
I think it would be authorize. Authorize
okay,
staff
to authorize
to seek
the
borrowing.
borrowing of $2,250,000.
I see Mark just unmuted. Would that be sufficient, Mark? Now you just muted yourself again.
Linda's kind of fading in and out for me, so, but I think you had stated it pretty well when you recited what you believe would be an appropriate first motion, which would be to authorize staff to begin the process for the borrowing of $2.25 million.
Yeah.
For the capital infrastructure projects as set forth. So I think that's specifically what you're looking for, just to begin the process, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, because then this will come back once we have the borrowing kind of all put together. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that your motion, Linda?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Anything else for anybody? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Motion number two, then, if you could review that.
I think motion number two is we're looking for approval of the funding sources for the infrastructure package as outlined in the staff materials.
I'll make that motion.
I would second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Anything from anyone on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. So thank you for that presentation, for making it clear and concise. This is a very, in my view, it's complicated. And I know that staff put in a lot of work and a lot of time, and the documents that were presented were very helpful for us to do the analyzing of it and reviewing all the numbers. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, no. And one thing I do want to point out, I don't want to go too far off. I don't think it's off the agenda. The question was brought up to me, and I think it's important to address it here. Even this borrowing, as we proceed with it, will not impact any borrowing that may be necessitated by the fire department buildings that are planned for the future. The reason being is none of this is levy supported debt, and that very likely will be levy supported debt. In fact, it absolutely will be levy supported debt. And two, depending on the arrangement that we work out as a member of the new Lakeside Fire and Rescue District, in the past, the Edgerton Fire Protection District was the holder of that debt. And the participating municipalities then paid their portion of that debt service through their annual allocation. We are still able to then utilize that on our line I of our levy limit worksheets, but it wouldn't necessarily count towards our debt capacity. But most importantly, we will be down to 25% of our debt capacity when the day comes that we likely need to take out borrowing for that fire station. So we would not be in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form, or this would not in any way, shape, or form inhibit our ability to make good on those promises for the 2 new fire stations. So that question was asked of me. It was a very important question, and I can't believe I didn't think of it until now, but I wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody in case they hadn't thought about it.
Yep.
Thank you, Al.
Yep. So we can move on to number 9 then.
Yeah, so we did kind of jump the gun on number 9, but it was necessitated for the purposes of that last discussion. So as the second motion that the council made, authorizing the funding sources one of those directly related to 2022 residual funds. So I will turn it over to Kelsey, who can then discuss the resolution, which will modify our 2022 budget to account for those allocations as discussed. And I'm going to go get something to drink because I feel like I've talked a lot.
Yeah, we'll give Al a break and I'll get mine in before the Mark show starts for the rest of the night. So as we talked about in the last item, the 2022 financial analysis is near completion with the audit coming up in 2 weeks. We're projecting residual funds of $140,317 in general fund budget. We have to adopt a resolution to amend the 2022 budget prior to the audit. As we talked about, we are earmarking $80,000 to be allocated towards Madison Avenue and North Clear Lake project. We would also like to allocate $10,000 of funds for the upcoming chief recruitment. And then the remaining roughly $50,000 is yet to be prioritized. And that's up to council's discretion tonight if you would like. Those funds could be used to negate the necessity to borrow for certain infrastructure projects, some of which we had talked about already. Otherwise, it could be used for in place of ARPA funds if you'd like to for other projects, but it's up to council's discretion. Tonight, staff is asking the council to approve resolution 2023-04 as prepared or amended tonight by council.
Oh, Kelsey, or the council could approve the resolution without dedicating what that 50,000 is for right now and just have staff come back with some recommendations.
If we did that, it would have to go towards capital like we did last year with the funds. We said it could go towards capital and we're rolling it over into this year's.
Okay, so there is a fund that has to be identified for?
Correct.
And does this have, and then just so I understand it, then the ARPA funds are separate? Or no, because there was like on the one side, there was $50,000 in ARPA funds that weren't used.
The ARPA funds, we were looking for the water tower and then the 90,000 left over towards the ordinance update. And we know that there had been talks of possible ARPA usage for other items. So if we were to use it for the water tower and the ordinance updates, we're saying the 50,000 could be earmarked for something that you would have used towards ARPA funds instead.
Okay, so we're still, so Are you saying that the $50,000 could still be used for nonprofits? I think I'm getting confused over.
Yeah, this is just the 2022 budget stuff, general fund stuff that we're talking about here.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That's what I was trying to clarify. Okay.
I would move approval. Resolution 2023 -04. Amending the 22 general fund budget, transfer 130,317 from the general fund to capital projects, and amending the 22 budget to include an allocation for police chief recruitment of 10,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. And Mark is not unmuting himself, so that's a good sign. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, so that,
And then just for the record, that's unanimous, correct?
yes, it was unanimous.
Okay, and the only reason I'm saying that is that in order to amend the budget, you need a 2/3 vote of the entire council. So that just clarifies for the record that there was.
Yes, there was. Okay, so I just got to shift in my feet. Okay. So number 10, discussion, and we're done with number 9 then, correct? Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding 2023 utility infrastructure bid award. Is this Mark now?
Yep.
Oh, where's the
Yes.
music? Do we have
Battle
special
up,
Mark
everybody.
music?
We don't need music. So this is the first of several projects that I will be talking about tonight related to the 2023-2024 borrowing package we just went through. This project involves the Madison Avenue, North Clear Lake utility infrastructure work, that's paving, water main, sewer rehabilitation, as well as the lift station 6 improvements. The bids were received on December 15th. The low bidder was Rock Road. There was a memo prepared by Baxter and Woodman. I reviewed the bids and recommended award to Rock Road. The bid was prepared also with an alternate for concrete pavement rather than asphalt. That would add an additional $400,000 to the cost, approximately. They did a life cycle cost analysis, and generally the concrete cost was more expensive over the life cycle, so the recommendation would be what was included in the borrowing package for asphalt pavement. So we'd be looking for a motion to award the bid to Rock Road Companies for the 2023 utility infrastructure improvements and not award the alternate.
I have a question. I don't know if this is the right time to ask it.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Okay. Obviously one of the greatest problems along Madison Avenue and Clear Lake, perhaps, but I know on Madison Avenue, is the consistent drop between the street and the sewer caps. When we redid this south part of Clear Lake Avenue, there was still some drop between the blacktop area and into some of those areas that had sewer caps. I'm wondering, will this take care of all of those drops and meet the sewer caps? I mean, that's the greatest complaint from drivers.
So this project is North Clear Lake. And the sewer manhole adjustments, manhole frame adjustments are included as part of the project to be set to match the proposed finish grade.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I said South Clear Lake. I meant South John Paul.
Oh, South.
When they blacktop that, it still didn't correct all of the problems, and I want to make sure this project corrects those because some of those are significant.
So I think I know what you're talking about, Teresa. Like when you're driving down the street, it's like boom, 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 boom. As you
Yes,
go
and I'm afraid
over-
someone's really
as you
hits
go-
that with a
Yeah.
motorcycle or something. We're gonna get sued.
When you go over where there are basically mains underneath the road, you know, the road, probably the aggregate under the road, or maybe it's because there's concrete underneath the asphalt. It has settled over time. So this will be a full reconstruction. So they will tear
Okay.
up what's there and then put down, you know, a new base layer. So it should correct
Okay.
that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking for blacktop or concrete.
Concrete added additional costs now and in the future, over the life of the project. What was included in the borrowing package was asphalt, so we'd be looking for approval of the base bid for the 2023 utility infrastructure improvement projects, and not the concrete alternate.
I would move award of contract to Rock Road Companies in the amount of $1,821,295.82 for Part A and $750,743.37 for Part B. Part A being the Madison Avenue, Clear Lake Road paving and reconstruction. Part B being lift station number 6.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Anything else? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. So now we're on 11, correct?
Yes. So this is the work order for the construction engineering services related to the previous project that was just awarded. It involves construction administration and construction observation for both projects. Baxter Woodman prepared a work order with a total not to exceed fee of $174,000. As with all Baxter Woodman projects, the project will be billed based on actual work time performed, and again limited to that $174,000. We'll be just looking for approval of the 2023 utility infrastructure construction services work order.
I would move for approval of that work order as presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Anything for anyone? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Number 12.
This is the part of the water main loop that was mentioned earlier. It's the State Highway 59 and East High Street Utility Improvements Project. It also includes sanitary sewer extension to provide service to parcels beyond where we can currently serve. Bids are opened at the same time as the last project on December 15th. Rock Road again was a little bidder with a base bid or a total bid amount of $1,386,850.36. Baxter Woodman again prepared the recommendation memo. So we're just looking for motion to approve the award of the State Highway 59 and East High Street Utility Improvements Project.
I would move the award of contract to Rock Road Companies on the amount of $1,386,850.36 for the State Highway 59 and East High Street utility improvements.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments or anything from anybody? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries. Number 13.
This is the engineering construction services work order for the State Highway 59 East High Street Utility Improvements Project. Baxter Woodman prepared a work order with a not to exceed fee of $97,000. Again, they will be billing for work time performed and not exceed 97,000. The staff will be looking for approval of the State Highway 59 and East High Street Construction Services work order for Baxter and Woodman.
I'll make a motion that to approve the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for State Highway 59 and East High Utility Improvement Construction Services.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from anyone? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries. Number 14.
This is the work order for the North Street Sewer Replacement Project. It involves both design and construction engineering. The total not to exceed amount was $24,800. This project, as was discussed earlier, was discovered in recent televising to have some issues with sewer pipe condition, and was also noted in a previous sewer capacity study that was performed for the city as a pipe that was nearing capacity, so a size increase was warranted. We'd be looking for a recommendation, or I'm sorry, approval of the North Street Sanitary Sewer Replacement Design, Engineering, and Construction Administration Services work order to Baxter and Woodman.
Larry?
Well, I just was gonna ask a question about that project. Mark, it's a total replacement, right? They're gonna dig down, take the old pipes totally out and replace them, correct?
Yeah, so that there's actually two mains that run along North Street.
Yeah.
One generally serves the west side of Milton, which would have been Milton Junction, and the other pipe serves the east side, which would have been the village of Milton. Ultimately, we'll be replacing the two pipes with one pipe with capacity that's appropriate for current and future use.
Perfect.
So it's like the final merger
Yes.
of Junction.
Wait, that's ultimate, right?
No going back now.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the work
I'll
order
make-
by Baxter Woodman for the North Street Sanitary Sewer Replacement Design, Engineering, and Construction Administration Services.
Second.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Anything for anyone? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Number 15.
This is Woodman Parkway cul-de-sac design. We are going to work with Excel Engineering for this project. We did that because they did a lot of the recent work in the industrial park and are familiar with it. So we're just looking to continue to use their services for this. We haven't worked, the city has not worked with Excel for previous projects to my knowledge, but again, with considering they had recent survey data and experience in that industrial park, we felt it made sense to look to them for this project. They are providing a work order in a similar format to what our other engineering work orders are, with not to exceed fee in the amount of $20,900. And they'll be billed based on standard hourly billing rates. We would be looking for approval of the work order with Excel Engineering for the Putman Parkway cul-de-sac rail crossing project.
So just
I'll
not that.
make a motion.
Go,
I'll make a
Linda.
motion to. I'll make a motion to approve the work order prepared by XL Engineering Inc. for the Putnam Parkway cul-de-sac railroad crossing project.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Anything else for anyone? All those in favor?
All I was going to say is just XL Engineering was the engineering firm that we kind of vicariously utilized for the railroad construction and the other extension of Putman Parkway. They were brought to us by CQC, and now they're working with CNG. So that when Mark says they have familiarity with it, they have a tremendous amount of familiarity with it, because they literally designed the rail line that runs parallel to Putman, and the extension of Putman on the east side. They're the ones who designed that. So
Thank you.
Oh.
So there is a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Number 16.
So this project is one of the future projects that we touched on, in the 25, 26 years, as we're looking at future project needs and borrowing and funding sources. If you recall, we applied for bipartisan infrastructure law funding for High Street pavement rehabilitation. As part of the project, we'd also be looking to upgrade or improve utilities, replace water main, sewer rehabilitation. Again, to try to do a total package, so we only have to go in there once, hopefully in the next several decades. The bipartisan infrastructure law funds approximately $904,000 worth of the project. This motion is to authorize staff to complete the state municipal agreement for a state-led STP urban project along East High Street. What this project, it'll be a little different for the city because we normally let our own projects, which means we handle the bidding. In this case, we'll have to hire a consultant to do the design, who will then basically have the plan reviewed to and provided to the reviewed by and provided to the state, who will handle the bid letting and the construction project, and then they will invoice the city for our share less the $904,000. So again, looking for a motion to authorize staff to complete the state municipal agreement for a state-led STP urban project along East High Street.
So
So
moved.
this is, okay, and is there a
Oh,
second?
I'm sorry.
There's a
Right.
motion by Teresa, and Eric wants to
Second.
second it. Okay, you guys are, you're awesome tonight. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? I just wanted to make one comment. So this is a federal, this is
It's
a
a-
infra.
yeah,
Can you
it's-
say just a minute
it's
about
the-
that?
It's the federal bipartisan infrastructure law. I think it was passed in early 2022.
Yes.
We applied for it. There was 3 streets in Milton that were eligible. It was High Street from Janesville Street to John Paul, Hilltop Drive from High Street to Madison Avenue, and Madison Avenue from Clear Lake to the western city limits. So unfortunately not the project we've talked about extensively tonight. But we were awarded funds for the High Street project, or to use towards the High Street project. And it's a substantial amount, almost $1 million. So
Yeah, it is. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood what this process was and that staff applied for the federal funds. Larry?
I appreciate the application for those funds. Mark, do we have any, I don't want to say oversight, but do we as a city have any kind of input?
yeah, so we'll hire the designer. The designer will work for us. We have to fund the design.
Okay.
State will review the design to make sure that it conforms with the requirements that they have for the funding package or the funding program.
Okay.
So they will have a say, but we will have input. And I should have mentioned too, this project is likely to occur possibly starting in 2025 with design, maybe some construction work, but the bulk of the work is planned for 2026.
Thank you.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries. Number 17.
Is for siting a water tower in the Crossroads Industrial Park. As development continues to occur and possible demands for additional fire protection may be needed, we wanted to try to plan ahead to acquire land to locate the tower before every bit of space out there is, basically used up by a private developer. And then we're, trying to find a location and, again, just trying to be thoughtful and plan ahead to do that. It doesn't mean we're building the water tower at this time. There's some preliminary design work that'll be necessary to again, make sure the site is appropriate. General sizing of the tower and those kinds of things will need to be done. But really it's to obtain rights to real estate so that we have a place to go when the time comes. Baxter and Woodman, again, provided the work order for this, the not to exceed fee of $11,000. We'd be looking for approving the work order for the industrial park elevated water storage tank preliminary design engineering services.
I'll make a
Larry.
motion to approve.
Larry had his hand up, Linda,
No,
so I gotta
no,
go
no,
with Larry
no.
first.
No, I was gonna make the motion, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Larry.
Make it.
It's fine either way. I make a motion for approval for the design work for the elevated tower, water tower.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions from anybody? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Number 18.
So this is to review water rates. Basically, we're just looking for authorization to seek a consultant to assist with a review of our water rates to make sure that they are where they should be, given operational costs, future capital projects, everything involved with determining water rates. Also appropriate given that the last review was completed in 2016. And prior to that, the last full rate case was in 2012. So we're just a little bit beyond where we probably would want to be to just ensure that rates are where they need to be. We don't know whether or not if a rate increase is necessary or not. So again, just want to look at the rates and see where it's at. So we're just asking for authorization to obtain professional services for review of water utility rates and submit a rate case if it is determined to be necessary. But we could just authorize staff to obtain professional services for review of water utility rates at this time. And then at a future date, when that's determined, we'll evaluate the rate case. Another part of the rate case is that if we want to continue the lead service program, there's some changes to the funding requirements that allow for ratepayer dollars to be used to fund the private lead service replacements, but it would require an application with the Public Service Commission to do that. So even in the event that rates are determined to be appropriate, we still may need to apply for a rate case to allow for ratepayer dollars to be used for up to 50% of the private water service line replacements. The new funding package will not fund 100% of the lead service program like it has for the city the past 2 years.
So basically, if you didn't get your lead service lines replaced under like having it paid for, that's probably going away, it sounds like.
It's at least, I mean, we have the opportunity to apply for 50% funding, but short of using ratepayer dollars to pay the other 50%, the private homeowners would be on the hook for that portion of it. So.
Okay, Teresa, do you have a question?
Yes. What, on our water bill, what are the different charges that we have? Water, sewer,
Stormwater.
stormwater. I'm wondering because it seems like every other year there is an increase, and then our citizens start to complain that, geez, you're raising my utility bill every time I turn around. They don't understand that each is a separate cost. And I'm wondering, is there any way to get input from them? Would you prefer to have all of these increases at once? Would you prefer to have them every other year so that they understood better that they're all separate? And that, yes, they could get increases every other year, or they could get a larger increase if they waited. That
Yeah,
we're
and that's-
trying to help out. Yeah, we're trying to help out by alternating them. And it's not that we're increasing them every other year.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Just-
what happened with the stormwater rates. If you recall, last year we took a look at stormwater
Mhm.
rates. It was the first time in many years that had been done.
Yeah.
It resulted in a substantial increase to the stormwater utility rate.
Right.
In the case of the water, there are some different options the PSC allows for to adjust rates. They allow for what they call a simplified rate case, which is just a fixed percentage that you can do every year up to a certain amount. But again, being that it's been 6 or 7 years since we've looked at rates, it just probably it does make the most sense to at least look at the rates as a whole now again, and then make a plan going forward.
Yeah.
We could try to align all the increases at the same time, or rate reviews at the same time. I don't want to say increases because it's not a known that it will be increased, but it's just,
I don't know what everyone else thinks. It's something to make it more palatable to taxpayers.
Yeah, I agree with you, Teresa. And just maybe it's education too. Part of it is to educate that these are all separate funds. I think most of us, most of us who have been active in the administration and government understand that, but not everybody else does. And all they see is a big increase here and a big increase here. So,
yeah, and if we actually look at in comparison, and I'm very mindful, everybody pays a utility bill, but if you look in comparison to other communities surrounding us, our rates are actually quite a bit lower.
Of course.
So we have done a good job of not having as high rates as other communities too. But
sure.
Anyways, for the thank you for the comments from everybody. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we authorize staff to obtain professional services for review of our water utility rates and submit a rate case to the Public Service Commission if it is determined to be necessary.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any other further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, so that we'll hear back from at a later date. 19.
This is for the well improvements we talked about earlier. Again, that there's some rule changes required regarding chemical separation in our wells that currently 3 of our wells, our highest production wells, don't comply with. Fees for services, again, are based on engineer standard hourly billing rates for work time performed. Extra Woodman prepared the work order with a not to exceed fee of $87,200. In addition to the chemical separation requirements at 4, 5, and 6, well, 5 will also include a new backup generator to provide power in the event of an emergency. So we'd just be looking for approving the work order prepared by Baxter Woodman for the 2023 well house improvements design.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for 2023 well house improvements design and engineering service.
Second.
Any questions or comments for anyone? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Number 20.
This is to approve the purchase of a replacement skid loader and authorize staff to sell the existing skid loader. As part of the 2023 budget process, a capital request was made for replacement of the existing skid loader. The lowest quote received was provided by Johnson Tractor in Janesville for the amount of $50,000. The approved budget included $20,000 for the new skid loader. Funds from the sale of the existing skid loader and other equipment funding from utility accounts will be used to offset the remaining cost. We'd be looking for two motions. One is to approve the purchase of the new skid loader from Johnson Tractor, and the second is to declare the existing skid loader as surplus for sale through the Wisconsin surplus auction.
Make the first motion to approve the purchase of a new skid loader from Johnson Tractor.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
Nice
All
to
those
see us looking local.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, motion
Aye.
number 2.
I will move that we declare the old skidder loader surplus and make it available for sale through the what's the appropriate wording? Wisconsin surplus auction.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Number 21.
This is to continue our generator maintenance program with Cummins Sales and Service. We have 10 generators throughout the city that provide power, backup power. They're located at lift stations, wells, City Hall, Public Works, the treatment plant, the booster station, and we have annual maintenance performed on those just to make sure they're in good working order. Cummins Sales and Service has provided the quote for 3 years of service. The work is funded by the account associated with the generator. So, for example, if it's a well, the water utility will pay for it. If it's a lift station, the sewer utility will pay for it. The total cost for the work is $18,549.19. So again, just looking for approval of the 3-year maintenance quote from Cummins Sales and Service for generator maintenance.
These would be generators we would use if we lost a lot of electricity service during an ice storm.
Yep. So, they're, for example, City Hall will keep the lights on. At the treatment plant, it'll allow us to continue operations in the event that we don't have power. They'll allow the wells to produce water if the wells, or at least of the wells that have the backup generators, will be able to produce water. So, yep, that's what they're for.
Is there any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the 3-year maintenance quote from Cummins Sales and Service for generator maintenance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Number 22.
This is to replace existing streetlights along State Highway 59, starting at the Janesville Street intersection. So just south of City Hall there, continuing out to the first roundabout. Several lights are not working, burned out, I guess you could say. We'd be looking to upgrade them to a similar light that WSDOT uses. It's approved for Focus on Energy funding or a grant from Focus on Energy. The lowest quote was provided by Badger Aerial Lighting and Sign Repair, $15,360. Focus on Energy grant program provided that we could expect to see about $2,000 in annual energy savings from the lights. And there's a focus on energy incentive amount that equals $1,584 that will be applied to offset the cost upon completion. So we're looking for a motion to approve the quote from Badger Aerial Lighting and Sign Repair for the street light replacement.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
I
All
have
those
a
in favor?
question.
Okay, Linda?
I was just wondering, Mark, it seems like when we put those lights in originally that we had gone through the same save on energy, and I thought that don't we have any guarantees or warranties on this lighting? It seems to me that we spent a lot of money on it, or the state.
From what I recall, those lights were installed when State Highway 59 was constructed. I don't know all the details of that. I do know that the route between the intersection and the roundabout, we have a lighting agreement with the state that says we're responsible to maintain those lights, even though they are along a state route. And the lights in the intersection, those are ours, not tied to the state.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Question, this is a replacement of the fixtures.
Just the fixture.
It's not just relamping, it's the fixtures themselves.
Correct, with an LED fixture. We did do a project on Merchant Row several years ago that had a focus on energy grant. I don't know if maybe that's what you're recalling possibly. We replaced all the lights on Merchant Row with LED lights.
Yeah, it just seemed like the dollar amount seemed to be pretty small, considering the work that would be done, actually.
Yeah, it's just for replace the fixture with the LED fixture, replace the existing fixture with an LED fixture.
Okay.
And again, they'll be similar to what was done east of the roundabouts. The state did that in the last year or two.
Okay.
Anything else for anyone? Is there a motion?
Oh, we already had motions for this.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second.
Motion and second on this one.
All right, I'll just be leaving the Zoom meeting now. Now, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, 23. That motion carries.
All right.
Is this the one where we kick Mark off of a committee?
He's done all that work, and now we're gonna say see you later.
Cyan.
Motion. Kidding. Go ahead, Al. I'm kidding.
So, as part of as you all are aware, we've been talking about looking at the zoning ordinances for, well, I've been here since 2014, so at least since then. But we've really kicked it up a notch and are starting the initial processes with Vanderwall to look at a scope for zoning ordinances, subdivision ordinances, and land division ordinances rewrites. But as part of that process, you know, in reviewing the ordinances, some things jumped out at us that, you know, we couldn't necessarily wait for that process to play out. And one of those was this issue. The Director of Public Works being a voting member of the Plan Commission, you know, frankly, from Mark's perspective, has always kind of seemed odd to him. It's always seemed odd to me as well, but it's just kind of what always has been done. So in review of that ordinance and discussion with Attorney Schrader, we all agreed that it was probably best to not have that be the case anymore, as oftentimes Mark is the one who is reviewing site plans, rezonings, conditional use permits, and then turns around and has to vote on them. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's the most transparent process. So looking at peer communities, there are really no other communities that have that arrangement. And my guess is this harkens back to days gone by when Howie and Chick and people and their predecessors were not only the Director of Public Works, but they were also the building inspector for the city. And obviously that isn't the case anymore. So I'm guessing there was good reason it was done, but we feel it's time again to kind of, you know, move the organization forward. So this ordinance would essentially remove the Director of Public Works from the Plan Commission as a voting member. So therefore he wouldn't be voting on his own recommendations, and replace it with a citizen member. We understand that, you know, committee appointments generally come up every April. You know, Mark has been abstaining from the voting process for the last 2 plan commission meetings. I informed the plan commission of this. So we thought, you know, let's start the process now and then perhaps maybe fill that position in April when, I don't know, maybe somebody who currently serves on the plan commission, who's a council member, is no longer a council member and wants to serve on the plan commission. So, you know, whatever, but so yeah, we can either, it's totally up to the mayor. She can appoint that person in advance, wait till April. You know, it would essentially remove Mark as a voting member. He still will come to the meetings and speak his piece, but he won't be tethered to the legislative chain that he is now.
I'd like to make a motion on this, make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2023-508, waive the second and third reading and adopt.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Anything for anybody else? This is not a retaliatory in nature, Mark, because of all of the numbers we went through tonight.
Well, I can tell you, Mark's worked for us now for what'll be 3 years in May.
Yeah.
And how he's been gone since November. You've been talking about this probably since August of last year. Like, wait a minute, what? I do what now? I write the recommendation and then vote on it?
And we appreciate your input, Mark. All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? All right, Mark is out of there. Thanks for your service, Mark. Can you bring cake to the next plan commission meeting?
Yeah.
I'll bring his revised salary to the next council meeting.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's going to take a big cake.
Considerably lower. Considerably lower.
Might not be able to buy cake then. Al. Can you wait till after the cake?
We'll do cupcakes.
All right. We're getting down there. Number 24, discussion and possible action authorizing the submittal of a Milton Community Fund Grant application for Lamar Park. Who's taking this one?
I will. I am working with the Parks and Recreation Commission on fundraising for Lamar Park, and they recommended to council on Monday night at their meeting to authorize staff to submit an application for the Milton Community Fund, and that application is due on March 1st. So we're hoping that council will authorize staff to do that.
Application is in the amount of?
We typically get around $1,000 from them.
Okay.
I'm going to request more, but that's typically what we see.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to submit a grant application to the Milton Community Fund.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. I'm not voting. I meant to say aye. All those opposed? All right, that motion carries. Is there any committee reports? You have 10 seconds or less. Go. Seeing no, hearing no, committee reports, any staff reports? Let's, anything just really quick? Did you just want to, you sent an email about the elections, anything in addition to that?
I do have the final numbers as far as voter turnout. So in Milton, it was at 23%, which is slightly higher than Rock County, which was at 21.8%. So otherwise, everything.
Go Milton.
Yeah. So it definitely a little higher turnout than we expected. We were one of the few municipalities that did not run out of ballots, so I'm very excited about that. Again, everything went really well, and our election officials were great. Our DPW staff for setting everything up, and then Inga and Kelsey, especially for helping in absolutely any way, from doing dinners and picking up food or just asking what I needed. So I thought it went really well.
All right, thanks. Any other, I don't want to like gloss over anybody at all. So just jump in if you want to have an update.
The only thing I will say is I gave this update at the Plan Commission as well. On our next meeting, March 7th, at the Plan Commission, there's going to be 2 public hearings for conditional use permits. One is going to be for an exciting new potential brew pub on Parkview Drive, so that's exciting. And the other one is for a new car dealership out next to the Dairy Queen. So 2 new potential exciting developments here in Milton. Obviously, they haven't been approved yet, but both of those parties have been very engaged with staff, and both seem to be very exciting projects. And the only other update is, again, as Scott pointed out and Mark pointed out, continue to be impressed with the work of our public safety and public works staff during these very trying times. This is the 2nd week in a row now where we've had inclement weather. The first one kind of turned out to be a nothing burger, but this one certainly came in as advertised, as it's still, coming down very regularly out there. I think it's going to be a long night for those folks out there in the streets, and certainly appreciate that. And we are as well watching the weather. And school district sent out an email today saying that they're going to have a meeting at 3:45 a.m. I'm sure Scott will be at that meeting as well at 3:45 a.m. To discuss.
Actually, no, they don't care about me at 3:45. So
yeah,
I just get the email.
Yeah, so that I don't know if anybody else got that, kids, and I'm sure Ryan, but that they're going to make a decision apparently prior to 6 o'clock as to whether they're going to continue with school tomorrow or be a late closure. And then, that we'll see how it works as far as our facilities as well, because we're certainly tough on the library, and so we'll keep you posted, just like everybody else in Wisconsin.
Any other staff updates? I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just like
we've got we're out doing snow removal currently, and then they'll be in around 3 o'clock in the morning to try to get everything cleaned up as best they can before traffic needs to get to work tomorrow. And then I'd just like to say thanks to staff and council, in particular tonight, the council. I think the projects that we talked about, while it's not going to address every single need that we have as a city and that will arise in the future, they certainly are all important projects, and they will impact the community in different ways that will be positive.
Thanks, Mark. Ashley?
I just want to say our chickens are probably going to be hatching on Monday.
Oh my gosh, we've got babies.
Hopefully,
Babies?
yeah. The kids came and candled them last week, and hopefully maybe tomorrow. We have not all of them look like they're have baby chicks in them, but we have a handful that will hopefully be hatching on Monday. And then our book sale starts on Wednesday. So go through the whole month of March.
So
you're-
like, go
you
ahead.
told me you missed a revenue source by selling eggs at the library.
I know.
It's
I think
Salisbury
that somebody
Gardens.
said it was against an ordinance or something, and I'm like, ordinance, smordinance.
The chickens were claimed very quickly. People definitely wanted the chickens.
So like we don't even get to name them? You're giving them up for adoption?
Yeah, we gotta get them to homes. They can't stay in the library.
Oh.
Crushed. Who made that ordinance?
Well, you don't want to chicken out on anything, right, Ashley?
You guys are so cute and fun. Anybody else? All right, I know that it's been a long night and it's like 8:48, but my bedtime is not technically till 9. So we can do a quick team building exercise. If only to vote on not doing a team building exercise. Can we do that, Mark? Can the council just like decide and vote to not do the team building? Or is it in the ordinance we must do team building?
I would move we table team building.
Second.
That's fine.
Somebody call for a vote quick, Larry.
There was a motion and 3 seconds. So
Okay. So there is a motion, a second, call the question. All those in favor to table team voting for a special meeting next Tuesday? No. To table team voting because you guys did such good
I'm sure I'll
teamwork
be
on all
out of
those-
town.
all those motions tonight. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Is there anyone opposed to tabling team voting?
Aye.
There's the winner. Ding, ding, ding. It had to be unanimous, didn't it, Mark? What is the rule on those motions? Okay.
At this
So-
time of night, any votes are counted, so simple majority will rule, yeah.
Oh, and the hammer has fallen on team building tonight. I want to thank you guys. You did a great job, really. A lot of motions, a lot to think about. You know, you did great. Our next meeting date is March 7th, 2023. We are going to anticipate that will be in person. It will be a spring-like day.
I agree.
I don't know what that means, but is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
So moved. Second.
The whole council
Second.
moved it. The whole council seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ah,
Anybody want to stick around for popcorn? Okay, no. We're adjourned. Great
Good night,
job,
all.
you guys.
Night.
Good night.
Long
Thank you
night.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Staff.
everybody.